Hello. Today I want to talk about names and, for example, choosing a channel name or a brand name, I suppose, or any name in general, really. What even is the idea of names? Well, fundamentally, names are no different from any other word, really. It's just representing an idea through a certain sequence of sounds or letters or even an image, I guess. And in the same way that some words seem to be completely unique, other words seem to be combinations of other words, like I don't know, like fire truck, like a combination of fire and truck. So some words like fire on itself, just a word. I'm not aware of any other words that it comes from. Maybe some ancient words or something, but not in English, I think. Just as an example. So same goes for names. Like, for example, let's say Michael as a name, or Jacob, or just Elliot. I don't know, random names. Um, doesn't seem to come from anything in English. That is, it probably comes from some sort of Greek origins or something, where it does mean something. Or some of them may just be, just a unique sequence of letters with no origin, really, just out of the blue. But names frequently are their own word, but also can be shared by a lot of people, which further complexifies the situation. For example, there's probably, thousands, maybe even millions of Michaels in the world, and they're all relatively unique. It's unique enough for most of us to call each other by our first name and have that be understood as the person we're referring to. But it's not unique on a grand scale of things. So back to the channel name thing. It's more similar to picking a video title. Also same kind of idea, where in the video you are basically just describing what's in the video in a few words so that the viewer knows whether they would like to watch it. And then a channel name, by the same logic, would be a brief description of all the videos on the channel, and then the viewer would choose whether they want to watch videos from the channel or not. But in that sense, it would make sense to pick the channel name later, because, for example, to come up with a video title, what I would do is record the video and then come up with the title and then upload it, not come up with the title and then record the video. Because if you come into the video with a rigid guideline for what you're going to say, then that's going to hurt your flow a lot, and you're going to be, either you're going to get off topic and then it's a bad title, or you're going to refrain from getting off topic and then it's a boring video because you had an idea that you didn't share just because you decided ahead of time you wouldn't. So then maybe the channel name is a bit weird because, well, you need to first create a channel and then upload a video to it, which is like, how do you come up with a name then? So that's kind of a struggle then if you think about it. And maybe you could do some sort of placeholder title and then like change it later, which brings us to this whole idea of like rebranding. I think it is very annoying, and when you come up with a name and it's like used a lot, then it's usually not worth it to switch. Like we see this all over the English language. Like that's probably one of the major reasons why words are so weirdly spelled. It's because historically they were, and then maybe like pronunciation changed or something, and then it's not worth it to update the spelling. An example would be like American Indians, and then at some point people decided, no, we should call them Native Americans. Like, you've been calling them American Indians for what, like hundreds of years, and then now just changing it, like the people themselves did not choose the name in the first place, but at this point, like, okay, fine, we'll use this as our name, and then like now just no, let's change it. Like if you think about it as a person, like if my name was one thing for my entire life, and then someone just came along and like, no, we should change your name, you know, like this other name is going to be better. Like, okay, maybe like it changed from like, I don't know, Michael to Mike or something, and it's like more intuitive to spell, you know, like Mike or something. But like that's actually not a horrible example because the two names are related. But still, like if everything, like if everyone knows me as Michael or something, and like all my legal papers would say like Michael, and then like just changing that would be, I mean, not only a logistical nightmare, but also if you think about like me and my identity of self, I can rely on myself as the one constant thing in this world, and I suppose changing a name doesn't really change that because I am who I am, and that is the constant thing. Like it can be called whatever I want. Like a rose would smell just as sweet by any other name. I think that's a Shakespeare thing. Anyway, so maybe changing names isn't all that horrible then. Well, then the problem is someone, Michael and Mike is actually not like completely not a horrible example, which I suppose a little bit of rebranding is actually fine. For example, if you change the font on your logo or something, like that, companies do that all the time, and I have never been bothered by that as much as I have been bothered by, you know, like a full-on name change, because if you use the old logo, it's similar enough that you can easily understand what's being referred to. Like you do not need to remember the differences in your mind to be able to understand. They just kind of all are very little variations of the same thing, you know, as if you were to hand draw the logo over and over again, and yeah, there would be variation, but it's the same idea. That kind of rebranding, yeah, sure, I guess, go for it. Like, so maybe then that's a good reason to not kind of overthink it or overdo it when you're just making the brand, because you can tweak things later on. Like it's fine. But the main idea though, really, once you pick it, it starts like the concept in your brain of that name starts to be associated with the things that you do as a person, brand, channel, whatever. And then like changing it forces anyone who engaged with you at all to rewire it to a different part of their brain with a different name and kind of make the new connection. And like, why force people to do that? Like, just keep the original name, and you can change the meaning of the word through your actions. You don't have to change the word itself to match, because the original one was already changing to match. Back to the channel name. So then, can I just pick a random sequence of letters, and over time that will gain meaning and become associated with whatever my channel is? Well, yeah. But then also, if you pick something with existing connotations, then that gives you the added bonus of an idea going in of what to expect. And expectations are an interesting thing, so I'm going to talk about that. Expecting things is generally not a great idea, because you will be disappointed a lot of the time because you can't control what's going to happen. there can always happen something that you didn't expect, and then you're going to be caught off guard. So if you don't expect anything, then you're going to be ready to be caught off guard, basically. You're going to be expecting the unexpected by not expecting anything, which is way more effective, I think. Now, I would say something like, I have been trying this for the last little bit or something, not expecting anything and just living in the moment. But then that wouldn't be super like timeless and universally applicable like I want these videos to be, right? Or I think the problem is actually not the things that I say, but how I say them. Because if I frame it as not this is the case right now, and then it becomes a lie in the future, or no, the right now is the part that I would want. If I say just like I do this in general in my life, that would be the problem, because then if I stop doing it, then it's no longer accurate. But if I say I tried it for a week, then like, yeah, I did try it, even if whether I continue it or not in the future, that's still going to be true, and that's what's okay in a video. So I tried for a little bit of time now to sort of live with no expectations. Like, I did not plan to come out here and record this video. I just felt like it, like, oh, I should record a video. And I was able to, like, I had the time, and I came here and I'm recording the video. So that's worked out pretty nicely, I think. I have some good thoughts here. So I keep trying to get back to the channel name, but it's good. I'm making progress overall, and I have the central topic that I'm trying to answer, but I'm going on all the tangents, which is ultimately going to help me answer it. Or maybe not. Maybe I will abandon it at some point, and that doesn't even matter that much, because I'll come up with something better for something else. But anyway, so the channel name, if you leverage the existing connotation of another word, then that will give expectations, but I suppose that expectations aren't something that we at all should really be relying on anyway. Like, I suppose though it would simplify things, because it is easier to remember when a new concept is, whether if it's just thrown into your brain and then you got to figure out where it fits, versus you're given an anchor point of a word you already know, and then that concept is somewhere nearby it linked. I think that's, when you link it to something, it's way easier to learn and remember new things. So then by naming things in a way that makes sense based off something that exists, we save everyone a lot of mental headache. So that's also something to consider. But then I suppose there's a lot of words we do just have to remember, and that is sort of how it works for some things. So maybe then it should be based on the content. Ultimately, yeah, that's what it's trying to describe. If your content is something unique that cannot be fully accurately described by existing words, maybe then you should, make it something, just like a new word. But I'm thinking, for example, like, let's say I were to make a cooking channel where I just cook random stuff in my own way. Well, that's unique in the sense that it's my own style of cooking, but it's not unique in the sense that, like, cooking in general is done by a lot of people, and probably very similar foods will be done by a lot of other people too. So then I suppose nothing is truly unique or truly non-unique. It's all just various levels of similarity to other things that exist. And I suppose a truly unique word / name is also not possible, because it's gonna resemble something. The way that we will remember these new and seemingly arbitrary things is by making some sort of connection. Like, I hear students study for tests all the time, like, let me try and think of an example. oh, for example, like my biology teacher had this whole thing where, like, for example, um, like hypotonic solution or something, the cell will like inflate like a hippo or something, and like the water will go into it, like that kind of idea. Like the hippo obviously has nothing to do with a hypotonic solution, but by connecting that, it serves as a memory aid in that there is some sort of connection that you can make to actually stick it in your brain, because you need to connect it to something. You can't just, like if you think of your brain is like a neural network, so you need some sort of neuron in that network. You can't just place it off to the side and just have that be in your brain on its own. You need to connect it to something to learn it. That's a very, very, very conceptual kind of thing. I'm sure that's not how the brain science works, or it could be. I don't know really. Disclaimers. Did I need to say that? Well, there's always going to be some people that are too stupid to understand, and like the jokes, for example, are a very frequent thing where a creator will make a really nice joke, and then there's just a ton of idiots who don't understand it, and then they start taking it seriously and getting upset or something, and then that's like a problem or something. Personally, I find that really sad when that happens, when some people who just can't think enough to understand ruin it for the rest of us who can. But then also there's another angle where like everyone has different experiences, and they're going to find different things easier or hard to understand. So the entire point of like making a video is to break it down and make it easy to understand for more people, because well, we're watching videos to understand things, and I am here to explain things and break down my thinking and teach you something, or even just prompt you to teach yourself something. But yeah, I shouldn't make things cryptic intentionally. Yeah, there was this one project last year where I filled it with hidden symbolisms and connections and meanings and allusions that I was sure the teacher would understand, and then I didn't say them, so didn't get any points for them or anything in that assignment. That was really sad. Like, for example, we learn to unpack all the symbolism and these great authors and stuff, and add meaning to their work. But then in our own work, that teacher isn't going to do that. You need to make it very clear if there's any cool connections that you've made. You can't just rely on the reader to synthesize them. Suppose that's just in general life, You can make yourself clear, but you have to work to interpret others, because they're as clear as they are. You can't just magically make them clearer. You can ask them to be clearer, but then try and explain things to them, which I'm trying to explain things to you, but that's ultimately just, you got to work with what you have right now, and what you have right now is whatever they say. And for example, if you're reading a book, then the author may be long dead, and you can't ask them to clarify. You have to kind of dig into what they meant and figure out for yourself. There's a lot of things that you have to just dig into and figure out. That's kind of what I'm doing here, we were reading a book in English at some point. There was, it was they were playing chess or something, and one of the characters was asking, for example, one of the characters was pawn moves 2 forward and then 1 forward on X moves or something, and then the other character was why, and then this one's well, I don't know, that's what the rules say, and then their mother stepped in and was well, this is how it works a lot of time. They won't tell you why, but they'll tell you the rules, so you have to take the rules and then figure out the why yourself. So that's what I'm doing for a lot of things, but then I share the why with you, because why make other people go through the same kind of work that you've already done? We're human civilization, that's the entire point, that we can share our progress and collaborate. So I suppose channel names then should be whatever you feel like, really. And if you just stick with it, it will mold connotation to match whatever you are. And there will always be new people who've never seen your channel, and your name will be their first impression. And they say that first impressions last, and they do, but not in the grand scheme of things. The real important thing, after all, is the content. Like, I could probably name myself, like, just a complete garble of letters. Like, if I just made that my name, like, it would be like, you know, like off-putting at the first impression, and it would be like annoying to type out, but ultimately, like, it might even become known as like a cool word that's like so unusual and is used to describe, I don't know, like my style of thinking or something. Yeah. I spent a while trying to come up with a name for this channel, and I really think I might be overthinking it. But at the same time, it might help to be thorough. Naming things in general is very hard. Like, usually it's best to do it, you know, like based on a description or the kind of idea of what you've seen that it already is. But I mean, for example, like people names, and or like people are one of the greatest examples of names. Like you name a baby even before it's born usually. Like you when the baby's born, you need to like figure out a name for it and like set it. You know, the baby has a name, and a lot of the time you'll even think about it before you even get to the hospital, or like sometimes you might be thinking about it longer even, I don't know. You haven't seen the person at all, and you're already giving them a name. So maybe the name is going to shape the trajectory of their life, or really they're going to shape the trajectory of the name and the name means. So now let's do an example application where me trying to come up with a name for this channel. Well, I think that the idea here is pretty unique because, let's face it, most of the people in the world will not just come here and ponder stuff in the way that I do. You know, most of the people won't even ponder stuff really at all in their life. They'll just keep themselves busy all the time with some sort of work for someone in the grand scheme of things that has an idea of what's going on. Well, I am one of the people that has an idea of what's going on. At least that's the entire goal here, to gain an idea of what's going on. And you, I hope too, by watching this, will, with me, gain some idea of what's going on. And I mean, ultimately, through many of these videos, a more complete picture of the world will be shapen. So, suppose I should research maybe and see if a word already exists for it, or I could just base everything off the one name that I have, the one that was given to me at birth. I could just use that as the ultimate source of, you know, like names. And for example, like usernames too. Like every time you're on a website and you make an account, you need to come up with a new username. Some will let you go by with just an email, but a lot of them will make you pick a username. And you know, different ones will be available, not available, because a lot of times that will force uniqueness. Unlike the real world, where you could have like millions of Michaels on like Discord or something. You can have like a Michael like 1257892 or something, and then like a 1527892 3, but not like, Michael. That's not how usernames work a lot of times. So coming up with things is really annoying, and I spend time on it, and it doesn't even feel that useful. I guess that might just be one of the things that you have to spend time on in life. I remember, like Among Us, the video game, was popular at some point, and I remember reading that the studio or something that made it used just like a random name generator for their name, and it was just random combinations of 2 words. I think it was something about a sloth, but I don't remember the other word. So maybe that's not a very good name then, since it wasn't memorable. And memorability is another important factor in a name, because if it's not memorable, then that's a legitimate problem. Like, yes, if you encounter it for long enough, you will remember it. But then in the internet, things get very easily lost. And your search history will not have everything perfectly. I don't know why it should, but in my experience, it doesn't. So really, like, I could see a channel and then remember it and then want to come back to it in the future and then just completely not remember its name and be unable to do that. And I suppose that would be a problem with the name that I used as an example earlier, which that would be very hard to remember and come back to if you wanted to. So then I suppose a memorable, simple, rational name where there's some sort of little trick that you can connect it to remember it, like the hippo thing for the hypotonic solution, might be important in a name too. So maybe not just any name will work really, and then it'll be shapen to you. That will happen, but like you should really in life try to make things easier if you can. And I think spending time on a name is probably worth it. Like, just think about it for a while and consider different options, and then come up with something that will represent your intentions and your I guess when you're naming something at the beginning, like you are a channel or a baby or a business or something, like it's just your intentions that you have to be based on. And we as humans are not very good at predicting the future, but we have to a little bit. A popular way around this is just to name the channel your own name, because then if you change your intentions, then, well, your name still describes you. So that's kind of the one constant on the channel is you. If you were to, hand the channel on to someone else later to continue your legacy and make new videos for you, then maybe that wouldn't work either. So it's very hard to come up with a name that will stick. So that's why a new word would be the easiest, because then there is no meaning that you have to follow. And it just is what it is. Suppose maybe then that a new word would be the best and give the most freedom. But then how do I get around the memorability problem? Well, I can come up with a sort of memory aid justification type thing, and that's actually not how I should do it. I shouldn't pick the name and then try to justify it. I should use a justification and then use that to build the name, because that's going to make the most sense, which is, like what I do in all these videos. I say stuff and I build up an idea over time rather than coming in with an idea and then trying to explain it. I start with the explanation and then I end with the idea. So what I think I'm going to do is think more thoroughly about what I want to do with this channel, and then come up with some words, letters, sounds that make sense to represent it, and then do some sort of logical combination into a channel name. Yeah, I think that about sums it up. I think it's pretty reasonable. I don't know whether I should do some sort of like recap, summary type thing at the end. I'll try it. So the idea in this video was that names can be a lot of different things, but the ultimate goal is to make them good at what they do, which is communicate the essence of an entity in a very concise manner. So to do that, it should be able to connect to something else in the people who will be using its mind, and then that is what will make it effective, and with time it will grow to suit the channel more. Now, while I was doing that little summary, I had small ideas of additional comparisons to make. For example, like if you're naming a police department or something, like it would just be like, like police of city name or something, or like city name police type thing. And then that gives you a unique name, but then the word police is linking it to something you know. But then that is sort of like police is just sort of, if you think about it, it's one big entity, and the police is actually a unique name for it. So just a little extra comparisons that I would dive into. Like I'm gonna dive into this police thing, because like, yeah, if you name yourself based on something else, then you are associating yourself with that thing. And I suppose if police in a different city changed, then like the meaning of the like this city, like City 2 police did something, so the City 1 police would, through the word police, is sort of linked to that a little bit, and then that seeps into this meaning, which is maybe not great again. So maybe I wouldn't want a unique word. Yeah, anyway. No, I mean, now that I've started, I should definitely resolve the idea. I mean, that's unavoidable with whatever you choose, really. Like, whatever people do will impact you. We all live in one world, so yeah. I think the ultimate goal is just the name should make sense and come from some sort of rational source that people can remember, and tap it onto those neurons as like building on top of them from the name. That is the ultimate idea here. And I don't think that I really needed to say it. I think that what I just did is really your job, because you've just listened to this thinking, and then I have synthesized what it means for me. And it is a pretty general way that I synthesized it, but I think you could synthesize it more relevantly for you. So I don't think I should be doing summaries like this in the future. And I feel like I've talked enough, so I'm gonna end this now. Goodbye.